Welcome back to another episode of our scary stories. I'm your host, shrouded in the cloak of night, whispering into your ears the tales that lurk in the shadows. Tonight, we journey into a realm where fear takes form, where survival hangs by a thread, where an icy wilderness hides a horrifying beast. So sit back, grip your seats, and let the chill take over. In this episode, we bring you the tale of terror, the beast in the blizzard. The formidable silhouette of Mount Kinloss loomed against a smoky gray sky, its icy peak hidden by angry storm clouds. Beneath it, our huddled group of climbers braced against the onslaught of nature's fury. A few days ago, we were just 5 passionate adventurers, myself, a wiry guide named Daniel, the strong and silent Bjorn, the gregarious couple, Susan and Vincent, and Lara, a serene botanist. But on the mountain, we had become more, a team fighting against the elements, knit together by shared purpose and desperation. The weather turned vicious without warning. Fat, cold snowflakes descended relentlessly, blanketing the world in pure, chilling white. A merciless gust of wind made our cheeks sting, whipped our hair into our faces, and pressed our clothes against our trembling bodies. Our camp, once a buzzing hive of activity, was now a solemn tableau of survival. The once crackling campfire was reduced to pitiful embers, consumed by the storm's icy breath. The air was thick with the scent of cold metal, frosted earth, and distant pine, a poignant reminder of our isolation from civilization. Suddenly, Vincent's shout cut through the howl of the wind. He stood pointing, half buried in snow, at an odd formation disrupting the otherwise seamless white expanse. We squinted against the blizzard, struggling to make sense of the surreal spectacle, a trail of enormous, monstrous footprints. They were the size of a large snowshoe but more oblong and deeper than any human or animal track we knew of. The impression had a strange, chaotic symmetry, a 5-toed anomaly that sent an involuntary shiver down our spines. What on earth could have made these? Lara wondered aloud, her voice carrying an undertone of dread. Could be a bear, Bjorn suggested, his Norwegian accent barely cutting through the blizzard's howl. But the look in his eyes told us he wasn't convinced. As we stood there, staring at these monstrous impressions in the snow, our chatter ceased, replaced by the oppressive symphony of nature's fury. It was a moment when every sound, even the steady crunch of snow under our boots, seemed to echo into infinity. This alien trail we'd discovered held our rapt attention and fear, for it led away into the vast, inhospitable wilderness. Was it a sign of a menacing presence lurking in the storm, or was it our only path to survival? Our eyes met in silent agreement. Hesitant yet determined, we ventured forth, embarking on a chilling journey, following the footsteps of a hidden giant, our hearts filled with foreboding anticipation of what lay ahead. As we ventured deeper into the snowy abyss, the once familiar landscape transformed into a harsh, alien world. The storm only intensified, obscuring our surroundings in a swirling curtain of white. The relentless gale moaned through the skeletal branches of the pines, an eerie song of desolation. Each step we took left a fleeting mark in the untouched wilderness, an ephemeral testament to our journey through the growing twilight. The air hung heavy with a cold so intense it froze the breath in our lungs, tasted of glacial purity, and bore the distant scent of the pines that bordered the wilderness. The enormity of the mysterious footprints seemed even more jarring amidst the silent vastness of the wilderness. Their unique impressions sprawled across the snowy landscape like an abstract tapestry, nudging our already heightened senses into an unspoken apprehension. It was as if the footprints breathed an unnatural life into the chilling landscape, a sinister rhythm breaking the monotony of our anxious footsteps. Daniel, leading us with an unfaltering resolve, paused occasionally to study the path we were following. He would often crouch by the mammoth footprints, a furrowed brow hidden behind frost-kissed hair, his gloved fingers barely grazing the icy impressions. There was a quiet unease in his usually stoic gaze that further stoked the growing dread within us. Yet, amidst the anxiety, emerged moments of surreal beauty. Frozen tendrils of ice clung to the boughs of the tall, silent sentinels that lined our path. The pale ghost of the sun tried to break through the thick, clouded sky, casting an ethereal glow across the vast snow-covered landscape. The fleeting sight stirred a melancholy mix of fear and awe within us, etching the scene deep into our memories. The further we ventured into the blizzard's wrath, the more our reality seemed to twist into an eerie dreamscape. The snowflakes, a maelstrom of silvery white, swirled around us in a relentless dance. The crunch of the snow beneath our boots, the wind's haunting lament, the strange echo of our hushed voices, everything amalgamated into an uncanny symphony that veiled the surrounding wilderness in an invisible shroud of dread. The footprints continued to lead us deeper into the realm of the unknown. A creeping sensation, as if we were not alone in our journey, began to haunt our fraying nerves. We were in the heart of the wilderness, treading upon an unseen beast's trail, the only lifeline in a world swallowed by a storm and an inexplicable terror. Night fell upon the blizzard-swept wilderness with an unforgiving grip. The darkness around us was suffocating, swallowing all but the dim, wavering glow of our flashlights. Each beam of light fought its own lonely battle against the night, casting long, monstrous shadows that danced and shivered across the icy expanse. Around us, the mountains seemed to breathe in the frozen night air, each gust of wind playing a mournful tune that echoed through the desolate landscape. The scent of the pine trees was sharper now, tinged with a hint of frost and something else, something untamed and primal. Our camp was a small sanctuary amidst the wilderness enormity, our tents huddled together like lost children in the dark. Inside, the flicker of a propane heater cast dancing shadows, making our apprehensive faces seem haunted by the journey's unfolding horror. Outside, Bjorn stood guard, a silhouette outlined by the dim glow of his flashlight. The Norwegian giant was usually a beacon of stoicism, but there was a tension in his posture now, a shiver of unease that couldn't be ascribed to the cold alone. In the heart of the chilling night, the unthinkable happened. A blood-curdling scream tore through the icy stillness, Bjorn's usually composed voice distorted by sheer terror. We poured out from our tents, flashlights sweeping across the snow in frantic search. Bjorn was gone, vanished as if swallowed by the very shadows that lurked around us. All that was left was a disarray of enormous footprints, much like the ones we had been following but disturbingly closer, and splashes of a darker shade on the pristine snow, a grim suggestion of a struggle. We stood frozen, each breath suspended in the biting cold, the severity of our predicament crashing down upon us. Something took him. Susan's voice trembled into the silent night, her flashlight's beam locked onto the chilling evidence of our newfound predicament. Her words hung in the freezing air, the horrifying implications setting our hearts pounding. Our safe haven was violated, the haunting footprints now a sinister signature of an unseen terror. The wilderness was no longer a silent observer, but a hunting ground, and we were the prey. As the night stretched out before us, we huddled closer, casting anxious glances into the ever-shifting shadows. Fear whispered tales of monstrous shapes moving just beyond the reach of our flashlights, of a cold, merciless watcher in the dark. It gripped us in its icy clutches, transforming every gust of wind into a stealthy predator, every creak of a tree into a warning. We were now part of a chilling hunt, the stalked, the pursued, the terrified. With Bjorn's sudden disappearance, the very air seemed to thicken with dread, an unspoken understanding settling among us. We were not alone in this frozen hell, we were sharing it with a beast that had already begun its hunt. The crackling dawn peeled away the darkness, casting long, crawling shadows over the blanket of untouched snow. As if the night's horror was a mere nightmare, the morning had returned to its usual stillness. Yet, the ominous footprints served as stark reminders of the terror lurking amidst the deceptively serene wilderness. Each of us moved around the campsite, our bodies on autopilot, driven by survival instinct. We hardly spoke, except for the necessary instructions. The silence was no longer comfortable companionship, but the reflection of a shared terror, unvoiced but echoing loudly in each heart. The breakfast consisted of freeze-dried meals, their dull flavors a stark contrast to the chilling spice of danger that permeated the frigid air. We chewed mechanically, our senses straining for any sign of the unseen menace. Just as the weak rays of the sun began their futile battle with the storm clouds, a thunderous roar echoed through the icy expanse. The sound was primal, terrifying, and bone-chillingly close. It was a voice that belonged to neither man nor beast we knew. It was an embodiment of the wilderness hostility itself. Barely had the echo of the roar died down when we saw it. A figure in the distance, massive and towering, half concealed by the swirling snowflakes. It stood on two legs like a man, but was draped in coarse fur that shimmered against the snow. A cruel parody of a human silhouette that bore an undeniable resemblance to the footprint's creator. The creature's eyes were glowing like burning embers in the storm, locked onto our fragile encampment. The sight of it sent icy tendrils of fear winding through our bodies, paralyzing us in its dreadful majesty. The beast roared again, the sound resonating in our chests, a stark reminder of our insignificance in this frozen purgatory. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, it melted back into the blizzard, leaving us in stunned silence. As the shock receded, we were replaced with a grim understanding. We were trapped on Mount Kinloss, not with an abstract fear, but a monstrous entity, a creature of legends, a horrific Bigfoot. The towering beast had already claimed one of us, and if we didn't act fast, it would pick us off one by one. We were no longer explorers battling nature's wrath. We had become survivors hunted by a beast. The mountain had revealed its secret, a monstrous presence that transformed our expedition into a desperate fight for survival. With newfound resolve, we packed up our camp and set forth, guided by the footprints of the beast itself. We were walking deeper into the wilderness, into the blizzard, into the heart of fear, tracking the very terror that hunted us. The morning faded into an opaque afternoon, the storm growing ever more relentless. The squall of the blizzard silenced our apprehensive whispers, leaving only the chilling symphony of nature's wrath and our labored breaths. Each exhale crystallized in the frigid air, a testament to our living nightmare on the ice-encrusted mountain. As we traversed deeper into the wilderness, the omnipresent footprints became our chilling compass, leading us on a twisted journey. Our pace was steady but fraught with dread, the threat of the lurking beast casting a grim shadow over our march. Daniel, his face an unreadable mask, took the lead, his experience as our guide taking on a grave significance. Vincent and Susan stayed close, their usual banter replaced with fear-laced silence. Laura, lost in contemplation, brought up the rear, her gaze focused on the monstrous trail we followed. The chilling echo of Bjorn's scream still hung in the air, a ghostly reminder of our perilous plight. As we pushed forward, the storm's rage sculpted the landscape into an ever-shifting portrait of icy shapes. Here, a snowdrift rose like the crest of a great wave, frozen in time. There, a cluster of frost-kissed pines stood as spectral guardians. The wilderness in its frozen guise was an otherworldly spectacle, yet each glimpse carried the hidden dread of a stalking menace. Suddenly, Susan stumbled, a strangled gasp ripping through the storm's howl. The rest of us turned, our hearts pounding, only to find her pointing at something half buried in the snow. It was Bjorn's flashlight, the metal casing scarred and twisted, an eerie testament to the beast's terrifying strength. The sight of Bjorn's mangled possession sent another wave of fear rippling through us. The harsh reality of our situation hit us once again. The formidable wilderness we were in was not just battling against us with elemental fury, but harbored a monstrous entity that had marked us as its prey. Yet we trudged on, driven by the instinct to survive, our resolve hardened in the icy crucible of fear. Our journey was not just a path through the snow anymore, but a high-stakes game of hide and seek with the monster lurking in the blizzard. The day gave way to a storm-lashed evening. The snow-capped wilderness bathed in a harsh, surreal light. As the shadows stretched and the temperature plunged, the four of us made camp. We huddled together, our bodies yearning for warmth, our minds stricken with dread. As the darkness fell, our world became an icy void, broken only by the dim halo of our campfire and the echoes of our ragged breaths. The blizzard continued its assault, whispering tales of the monstrous beast and its chilling hunt. And so we waited, our senses heightened, knowing we were not alone in the shadows, knowing that the terror was not over, but had just begun. Midnight descended on Mount Kinloss with an oppressive cloak of icy darkness. The chilling wind sang its haunting melody, and the snow-covered wilderness responded with whispers of crunching ice under unseen footfalls. Our fire, once a defiant sentinel against the encroaching cold, had been reduced to smoldering embers, casting a weak, wavering glow. Around it, we huddled close, a vulnerable island of life in the frozen void of the wilderness. Each face bore the weight of our ordeal, etched deep in furrowed brows and tight-set mouths. Suddenly, a guttural roar split the icy stillness. The sound was chillingly close, shaking the ground beneath us, stirring the fallen snow into a swirling flurry. We rose to our feet, our hearts racing, our eyes darting in every direction. From the darkness beyond the meager reach of our dying firelight, a massive form emerged. The beast from our nightmares stood at the edge of our encampment, a hulking silhouette against the storm. Its red eyes burned in the blackness, two cruel embers that stared us down with a dreadful intensity. In the frozen grip of terror, the Bigfoot let out another roar, a powerful declaration of its dominion over the mountain. The sound resonated within us, an echo of primal fear that twisted our insides. Then, with an agility that defied its monstrous size, the creature lunged at us. The world seemed to slow as we scrambled away. Daniel shouted, a warning or a battle cry. It was hard to tell. But in the face of the beast, words mattered little. The creature swiped at the ground where Vincent had been a split second earlier, the force of its attack sending a spray of snow and ice into the air. The Brit scrambled away, his wide eyes reflecting terror that words failed to capture. Laura and Susan had broken away, moving back to back as they tried to keep the beast in their sights. Their breaths came out in ragged gasps, white clouds in the icy air. Fear had painted vivid colors on their faces, but they held their ground, their survival instinct overpowering the paralyzing terror. In the chaos of the night, under the merciless watch of the storm, we faced the terror of the wilderness. The Bigfoot circled our encampment, its shadow stretching ominously under the feeble firelight. Each thunderous step it took echoed in our chests, a brutal reminder of the deadly game we were caught in. Yet we stood our ground, clinging to our hope, armed only with our determination to survive. We were no longer just climbers lost in a storm. We were warriors in a chilling saga. For the rest of the night, we kept the beast at bay, our spirits undying in the face of an ancient terror, a testament to human resilience amidst the mountain's nightmarish secret. With the haunting spectacle of the moon as our only source of light, the rest of the night was a tense and sleepless vigil. Each rustle of the wind, every crunch of snow underfoot, had us bracing for another attack. But as the hours wore on, the wilderness around us remained eerily silent, and the beast, its dark silhouette, had seemingly faded into the storm. The icy morning arrived with the reluctant sun, its faint glow doing little to chase away the gloom that hung over our camp. Our faces were a testament to the unspoken horror that clung to us, the memory of last night's encounter with the beast carved deep into our minds. Yet there was a new determination in our eyes, a resilience born out of our shared ordeal. We were more than victims now, we were survivors, willing to face the terror of Mount Kinloss with every ounce of courage we could muster. Over a makeshift breakfast of energy bars and thawed snow, we began to strategize, our minds whirring to find a way off this frozen nightmare. Daniel, his gaze hardened with resolve, suggested that we head towards the steeper eastern ridges where the trees were denser, a difficult terrain for a creature of the beast's size. We won't outrun it in open ground, he explained, his voice grim, but steady. We need to use the terrain to our advantage. Bigfoot or not, it won't maneuver easily among dense trees. His suggestion, while not a perfect solution, was our best shot. Vincent and Susan nodded their agreement, their faces pale but resolute. Laura remained silent for a moment before agreeing, her usual analytic demeanor replaced with a haunted quiet. So we set off towards the eastern ridges, our path dictated by the daunting tracks that led into the wilderness. The footprints in the snow remained our ghastly guide, a constant reminder of the peril that lurked among the snow-capped trees. As we climbed the steep incline, the air grew thin and our breaths ragged. Yet we pressed on, our footsteps synchronized with our pounding hearts. Behind us, the camp stood deserted, a chilling monument to our horrifying night. Ahead, the snow-laden wilderness seemed to hold its breath, its pristine beauty belying the monstrous secret it harbored. The day faded into an overcast afternoon, the storm clouds gathering for another icy onslaught. As we trudged through the snow, the chilling call of the wilderness was a stark reminder of our grim situation. But we were not the helpless climbers anymore. We were survivors, bracing to outwit the terror that stalked us. The rest of our journey lay shrouded in uncertainty, yet we were determined to carve our path to safety, one perilous step at a time. We ventured deeper into the wilderness, our determined strides breaking the pristine snow. The towering pines loomed overhead, their branches heavy with winter's burden, casting long, eerie shadows on our path. Each tree was an icy sentinel in this frozen labyrinth where every rustle echoed with sinister undertones. As the hours passed, our steady pace began to wane, the rigorous climb and the biting cold gnawing at our strength. Yet we did not yield. Laura, her brows furrowed with unspoken tension, scanned the surrounding wilderness, her survival instincts fully awakened. Vincent and Susan, their banter silenced by the looming dread, kept close, their faces set in determination. We came upon a narrow pass sandwiched between two formidable rocky outcrops, an ominous gate into an unknown part of the wilderness. Daniel paused, his seasoned eyes taking in the daunting formation. After a moment of contemplation, he turned towards us, his voice barely rising above the wind. "We go through," he said, pointing at the craggy entrance. "It's a risk, but it may slow down the beast." And so we ventured into the rocky corridor, the icy faces of the mountains rising high on either side, lending an oppressive aura to our path. The snow underfoot was disturbed here, signs of a smaller fauna using this pass, but the footprints of our monstrous stalker were ominously absent. Inside the narrow pass, the wind seemed to hold its breath, the haunting silence amplifying our apprehension. We moved with heightened caution, our senses tuned to the slightest sound, the faintest movement. Yet all that greeted us was the stifling stillness, the quietness wrapping around us like a shroud. As we emerged from the pass, the scenery transformed. A dense forest awaited us, the trees standing close like an army of frosted sentinels. The untouched snow under the canopy glittered under the weak sunlight, a deceptive beauty hiding the terror that lurked among its depths. Our breaths clouded in the frosty air as we exchanged tense glances. We knew, in this maze of frozen green, our game of survival had entered a more dangerous phase. The narrow escape routes and limited sight lines were as much a challenge for us as they were for the beast. Yet we pressed on, the monstrous footprints reappearing to guide our daunting journey. Each crunch of snow underfoot, each breath that frosted in the frigid air, was a testament to our resilience, a silent vow to survive the terror of Mount Kinloss. And as we delved into the heart of the icy forest, the echoes of the beast seemed to follow us, a chilling symphony of our terrifying ordeal. As nightfall descended, the forest transformed into a chilling maze of shadows and moonlit snow. The dense canopy above limited the moon's illumination, plunging us into a world where every tree seemed to hide a lurking menace. Our nerves were frayed, the eerie silence magnifying our dread. We made a makeshift camp under a massive pine whose branches offered some protection from the elements. With an urgency born of fear, we fortified our position as best we could. The soft glow of our lantern illuminated our grim faces, its light struggling to push back the encroaching darkness. Around our camp, the forest was hauntingly silent, except for the occasional rustling of branches in the biting wind. Every sound echoed ominously, tightening the coil of fear in our chests. Yet we huddled closer, our collective resolve a beacon of hope in this heart of darkness. The quiet of the night was shattered abruptly by a bone-rattling roar that resonated from the depths of the forest. It was the beast, its chilling cry echoing our worst nightmares. It was nearer than we expected, its presence permeating the wilderness, setting our hearts pounding with a fresh wave of dread. The towering trees seemed to shudder, their branches swaying under the force of the monstrous roar. Frozen in our places, we listened as the echoes gradually faded, replaced by the chilling silence that seemed even more terrifying. With the beast's presence confirmed, our vigilance redoubled. We took turns watching, the others catching fitful sleep, our dreams invaded by monstrous shadows. The lantern's glow cast moving shadows on our faces, flickering reminders of the peril lurking outside our frail sanctuary. In the darkest hours of the night, we heard it again. A low growl, closer this time, its menace seeping through the dense thicket of pines. The forest held its breath, the trees bearing silent witness to the terror that prowled among them. Yet, as the morning light timidly broke through the canopy, the beast had not attacked. Its bone-chilling growls remained our only contact, a brutal reminder of its presence. We had survived another night, our spirits dented, but unbroken. As we packed up our camp, we shared silent glances. We were trapped in this freezing labyrinth with a monstrous predator, each day a test of our courage, each night a battle for survival. But we were not just climbers anymore, we were survivors navigating through the heart of darkness, our resolve our only weapon against the beast in the blizzard. Our journey through the day was shrouded in an ever-present fear, the silent forest around us heavy with the threat of the lurking beast. We kept our movements as quiet as possible, hoping not to provoke our monstrous pursuer. Yet, every crunch of snow underfoot seemed like a thunderclap in the disturbing stillness. We followed the enormous footprints that scarred the snow, the chilling path leading us deeper into the forest's heart. The cold was a constant assault, biting through our layered clothing, yet it was the unseen terror that sent shivers down our spines. As twilight approached, we found ourselves at the edge of a clearing. Vincent, who was leading the way, suddenly froze, his gaze fixed on something ahead. We followed his wide-eyed stare, our hearts pounding in our chests. There, across the clearing, stood the beast, its hulking silhouette barely visible in the fading light. It was monstrous, its size dwarfing the tallest of us. Its eyes, reflecting the dying daylight, bore into us with an intelligence that was chillingly human. The air seemed to solidify around us as we stood face to face with our terror. We were within the beast's reach, the forest no longer a barrier between us. It stood still, its gaze locked onto ours, an eerie calm before the storm we knew was coming. With a roar that echoed off the surrounding trees, the beast charged. We scattered, adrenaline fueling our desperate escape. Daniel led Susan towards the dense trees on our right while Vincent and Lara veered left. The beast, its focus on Daniel and Susan, pursued them with a terrifying speed. The rest of the night was a blur of horror. We were split, our only focus survival. The echoes of the beast's roars and the cries of my friends filled the air, a macabre symphony that played out in the darkness. As dawn arrived, the survivors found each other, our faces a mirror of the horrors we had lived. Daniel and Susan were gone, the forest silent about their fate. As we trudged on, we knew the beast was still out there, its monstrous footprints a reminder of our relentless pursuer. We had come face to face with our terror, and we were irreversibly changed. The mountain's wintry beauty was forever scarred by our chilling encounter, its silent echoes a testament to our ongoing struggle against the beast and the blizzard. Gone forever was our friends Bjorn, Daniel, and Susan. As we close this chapter of our terrifying journey, the echoes of the beast still haunt our minds. The icy wilderness, the lurking shadows, the beast's monstrous footprints. They all merge into a symphony of fear that will resonate long after our tale ends. We hope you enjoyed The Beast and the Blizzard, and we thank you for choosing to descend into this abyss of fear with us. Remember, the darkness is not always empty, and the rustling leaves outside might not just be the wind. This is our Scary Stories signing off for tonight.